My top 5 biggest takeaways from UFC 295, and what a card that was. Let's get it. Hey! When is this lady ever in a boring fight? I think being on a 3-fight losing skid, people tend to forget just how good Jessica Andrade was or is. And she absolutely proved that yesterday. She is still one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC today. I still get absolutely hyped anytime I see her on a card. I thought she did a fantastic performance against Mackenzie Dern. Well-earned performance of the night. Coming in at number 4, though, we have this man will be back. Considering his last fight was UFC 275 in Singapore against Glover Teixeira, even though he got finished in 2 rounds, I still think Yuri did well and had a lot of big moments in that fight. Do I think he's the cream of the crop at 205 still? Absolutely. Do I think he can win the belt? Absolutely. But he needs a few fights under his belt. And considering what I saw yesterday, considering how good he looked in certain points of that fight, I still believe he's got it in him to make another run at the title. Coming in at number 3, I found myself getting a little bit nervous every time Yuri Prochazka hit Alex Pereira yesterday. And coming in at number 3, I have the fact that I don't fully trust AP's chin. Because ever since coming into the UFC, Alex Pereira has been touted as some kind of boogeyman. And having said that, he does have the skill set to back it up. But yesterday and in numerous fights before, he's looked very human-like and not the boogeyman that people have touted him and made him out to be. Don't get me wrong, hell of a fighter, but there were numerous times yesterday where I was fearful that AP was going to hit the mat, and it seemed like he didn't really enjoy taking a shot. Haven't said that, who does? But you know what I mean. I just think for somebody that's considered a bit of a boogeyman, I think he's very, very beatable. And he has some tough fights coming up at 205, including Jamal Hill and Ankalaev, who are really, really going to test this theory of that chin. But staying on AP, coming in at number 2, we have what he has done in a short span in the UFC is absolutely unprecedented. And I'm not just talking in the UFC, I'm talking about sport in general. He's had 7 fights in the UFC and he's won 2 titles. It's absolutely insane. And it's crazy to think out of some of his wins in the UFC, he's got 1 against Israel Adesanya, 1 against Sean Strickland, 1 against Jan Blachowicz, and now 1 against Yuri Prochazka. They are 4 UFC champions. And in just 7 UFC fights, it allows me to question where AP stands among the greats in the UFC. Considering everything, he probably has to be top 20. It's absolutely absurd. It will never happen again. And all the praise for AP. But coming in at number 1, my number 1 biggest takeaway from UFC 295, we have, make no mistake about it, in the heavyweight division, it's the Tom Aspinall era. I've been a massive fan of Tom Aspinall for a few years now. I just think he has everything that any fighter needs to succeed in the UFC, let alone at heavyweight where he's like a new hybrid of fighter there. And I think with that skill set, he is absolutely going to rule this heavyweight division for as long as he wants. At the end of the day, even though he won the interim strap, I still believe that Tom Aspinall is the best heavyweight in the world today, and that includes John Jones.